For this Europe Rendezvous, I'm in Belgium, a founding member of the European Union and the seat of the EU institutions. I'm at the European Parliament, which is often called the home of European democracy, as it's the only directly elected institution in the EU. And this assembly of 720 members plays a key role as co-legislator with the EU Council. But what does an MEP actually do every day? We're going to show you. Before we meet our first MEP, though, our reporter Renaud Lefort takes a look at a very important issue, not just for this current EU Parliament, but also for Belgium and for the EU, the fight against disinformation.
December 18th, 2025. Angry farmers protest in Brussels and clash with the police in front of the European institutions. Now, this footage is real, but this social media video goes much further, saying farmers were victims of police violence.
They killed 2 of our guys. They were shot like dogs.
In fact, it's totally fake, according to Grégoire Riekmans, a specialist fact-checking journalist at Belgian public broadcaster RTBF.
For us, it was quite easy to see it was fake, because the journalist we see on the screen isn't one of our colleagues, and the RTBF logo isn't the real one. The video is 15 seconds longer than the maximum length for artificially generated videos that use the AI tool Sora 2. And then we can also see that it's stamped AI generated on the video.
As for the identity of the person behind the fake video?
Yes, we tracked him down. The person told us he didn't really see what the problem was. For him, it was just a parody of misinformation. The goal of the video was to generate clicks, to go viral, and to make a profit from it. It's what I would call opportunistic misinformation.
According to an RTBF poll, 9 out of 10 Belgians feel that fake news is harmful to society. Given the power of AI, it's impossible to say that the camera doesn't lie, and viewers will now have to double-check everything they see, no matter how convincing it seems.
Plenty of MEPs have had jobs outside politics, and Benoît Cassard is no exception. This Belgian MEP with the centrist Renew bloc is a cattle breeder and farmer. And together with his friend, fellow farmer Adrien Paquet, he's trying to break stereotypes about how bad agriculture supposedly is for the environment.
So this is a greenhouse gas flux observatory, monitoring inflows, storage in the grassland, and outflows, such as carbon emissions. The University of Liège and a biotech group have been studying this for about 15 years. And they've concluded that the grassland here, per hectare of pasture, stores 1 ton of carbon in the soil. What does that mean? It means that the storage in the soil offsets a large proportion, over 70% of carbon emissions from livestock farming. So the cows have a very limited impact on the environment.
And also, this has a very positive impact on biodiversity, because animal waste helps to nourish the soil. So this is a virtuous circle that is good for the environment. In Belgium, we have high-quality pastures and fields, which means they're very productive. So they produce as much fodder as possible from a limited area. And secondly, we have a very distinctive breed, the Belgian Blue, which produces the maximum amount of meat relative to the amount of feed it consumes. This helps to reduce the carbon footprint of agriculture and livestock farming relative to the amount of meat produced. We are the world leaders in this regard.
So when it comes to the Mercosur free trade agreement with the Latin American countries, what concrete impacts are you expecting from Mercosur here, for example, at this farm?
This is a farm that focuses heavily on beef. And we know that beef, along with poultry and sugar, are the three sectors most affected by the Mercosur agreement. So the focus here is on high-quality beef intended for consumption in restaurants and places like that. The Belgian blue breed is the one that produces the most prime cuts, such as steak, ribeye, and so on. However, what Europe is going to import from South America is essentially these prime cuts, on which European farmers still have added value. So this will have a real and direct impact, as the price pressure on prime cuts will go up, at a time when we are also facing a crisis in purchasing power in Europe, with soaring energy prices and so on. This leads to a reduction in demand for our products, because there is more competition. And at the same time, it means a fall in prices here.
Benoît Cassar, Belgian Renew MEP, thank you so much for this interview.
It was a pleasure.
Merci. We're back in Brussels, a melting pot of more than 180 nationalities. The particularly diverse Molenbeek district is home to a museum of migration. We're meeting Asita Kanko, a Belgian MEP from the European Conservatives and Reformists. She's a member of the NVA, the governing party in Belgium, which takes a strict approach to migration and especially to illegal migrants. But today she's going to meet an interesting counterexample, a former irregular migrant who's become a police officer.
Our police project was set up in partnership with the Museum of Migration, and it's called Cultural Awareness. It aims to make police officers mindful of the prevailing culture in the cities where they work. Working in Brussels is quite unique after all. There are two cultures we want to be aware of: a culture of super diversity linked to migration and a culture of young people.
I bring a lot of experience to the table. I used to be an undocumented migrant. I followed a typical migrant's path and faced the usual difficulties. And I also bring practical experience with me. I've been in the Brussels West Police Zone for 12 years now. I'm very much a man of action, and I share my way of working not only with colleagues who are new to the police force, but I also share my experiences with young people, so as to bring the police closer to them and also to encourage them to take more interest in the police, and perhaps even to inspire some of them to join the force.
Have you managed to do that?
As it happens, just last Saturday, I visited the Kuckelberg police station, and there were two young people, a young woman and a young man, who wanted to join the police.
That's fantastic.
For me, the police is not bad news. The police is good news, law enforcement is good news. And when we have a police that can actually go out in the early stages, then we can also build a community and solve problems.
What's your view then on multiculturalism? Because I guess your party leader, Bart de Wever, the head of the NVA and Prime Minister, he's not particularly in favor of multiculturalism.
I think this museum is a good place to start a conversation that legal migration also exists, and we need to actually foster it. Speaking of multiculturalism, it depends on what people mean. We need to be a community in one country. We need to be a national community that is respecting the same set of values and the same constitution. And in that case, all women are equal regardless of where they are from, access the same justice, no parallel systems or Sharia courts. They also are equal to men, and that is non-negotiable, and everyone has to contribute to society, regardless of our color. If someone like me would like to become prime minister, or someone like me would like to become a CEO, it should be normal to have that dream, because all of us can work hard. I really just have big dreams for everyone. I don't want someone to be telling people with migration descent, you have to dream small and vote for the socialists. They'll give you a piece of bread. And for the rest of your life, you'll be depending on them.
The left that you just mentioned would also say that the reason that your party is taking this hard line on migration and aspects of multiculturalism is because It's trying to, in a sense, keep up with the Vlaams Belang in Flanders, which is more to the right. Would that be a fair criticism, that somehow the NVA is playing on fears of foreigners?
I was totally sure that you were going to tease me today, and that is practically happening. Not at all. Actually, we are not keeping up with anyone. We have our own belief that we can live in a society where people from migrant descent and people who are not from migrant descent can aspire to the same ambitious things. And in that, we need to be strict in what the rules are. We need to be tough on everyone the same way. We believe that if you do not solve the problems of illegal migration, if you do not solve the problem of unsuccessful integration, then we are making the far right stronger because they have a bigger story, a bigger wave to surf on.
Sita Kankia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm back at the European Parliament now, and as you can see, the main hemicycle is not in session at the moment, but very often it's full and it welcomes leaders from around the world. But according to some disinformation campaigns, it's always empty, no one turns up and nobody cares. That's actually not the case. Our reporter Renaud Lefort tells us more.
The European Parliament in Strasbourg, the seat of European democracy.
Her Excellency Maia Sandu.
A warm welcome in the hemicycle for Maia Sandu, President of Moldova. But that's not what readers of Russian propaganda organ Pravda saw. According to this satirical image on social media, no MEPs came to hear Sandu speak. For Delphine Collard, spokesperson for the European Parliament, it's simple to debunk the fake news.
The picture shows an empty hemicycle, yet when President Sandu came in the autumn, we can see the plenary session is full, and we see the MEPs giving a standing ovation.
The disinformation campaign coincides with the build-up to legislative elections in Moldova.
The aim is to use a satirical image to demonstrate that there is no European support for the Ukrainian and Moldovan efforts to strengthen their democracies, as well as undermining the reputation of the institution.
Moldova's president already has experience dealing with Russian propaganda and disinformation.
In the case of Moldova, Russia's interference is brutal. The response is not just to say that this is not true, but also to promote information which is supported by facts. We've been learning from other EU countries. We have been having cooperation, including with institutions from France.
From 2015 to 2020, the EU spent €50 million in the fight against disinformation. But for now, that's not proved sufficient to silence the voices of fake news.
So we've had a look at the political right, the political centre, and now we're going to look at the political left in the European Parliament with Belgian MEP from the Socialists and Democrats, Estelle Koelmans.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Thank you. Nice office you have here. Tell me about these files you're working on then, on employment and good jobs.
So in our committee, we are really working to protect workers against the new risk for the worker. By instance, psychosocial risk, it means there is more and more stress and burnout, mental health problem at work. And we really want to protect worker, but also the company against this phenomena. I'm working on a report to ask the Commission to put on table a real directive to protect workers about those psychosocial risks.
But you think that probably it's going to run into opposition from a sort of tactical cooperation between the right and the far right. They don't like this kind of thing at the moment.
But during the first meeting about this report and our demand to have a real directive on that topic, we clearly see also that the right and the far right in this parliament are clearly against that kind of protection for workers. There is sometimes good and progressive majority, but on such topic, environment, social and ethic, we see more and more also the right, EPP and the far right voting together to destroy sometimes also very important directive for regulation.
So when you have a file that goes to a committee, what actually happens at that stage and after the committee? What's the process?
First, we have to have an agreement on the report in the committee. A report, a legislative report, means that we are asking the Commission to have a legislative initiative, directive or regulation. Then we vote in plenary. By instance, on psychosocial risk, my report, we vote in committee the 2nd of September, and then we will vote in plenary in October. Mm-hmm. And then, if we have an agreement and green light in plenary, we can go to interinstitutional negotiation. It means that we are going in trilogue and beginning to negotiate also with the Council.
And then eventually it becomes a European law which applies to all Europeans.
Yes, but by instance, it was the case in the former mandate to implement also minimum wage all over Europe to protect workers against poverty. So we are going to one of the 24 committees here in the Parliament. It's the ENVI committee, Environment Committee, where we will have an exchange of view with the Commissioner for Preparedness. It means for preparedness to crisis. And it will be about the risk of fire, forest fire, who are more and more an emergency here in Europe.
Estelle, unfortunately, I'm not allowed in there, so I'll have to say goodbye here. But thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you. Well, I hope that gave you a better idea of what an MEP actually does. Thanks for watching us on this episode of Europe Rendezvous, and I'll see you again soon.